Board, are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start off by saying welcome everyone to our regular board meeting. Today is November 13th. We are beginning at 6 p.m. And we have a lot going on, but exciting things going on tonight, and I'm going to try and get us out of here early. We have a very short agenda. So with that, Ms. Woods, would you call the roll?
Mr. Clausen.
Here.
Norris.
Here.
Phillips. Hi, here. Mr. Schwartz.
Also here.
Ms. Upchurch.
Here. Can I have our students in the room? Would you be willing to stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Yep, that's our, even in the audience.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So next we'll move to approval of the agenda. But before we approve the agenda, I'd like to make a motion to actually table one of our agenda items, which is item number C1, consider approved Monument Academy Charter School Contract Addendum. If I could have a,
We'll second that motion.
okay, discussion? So I'll share in the discussion. The only reason we're doing this is it has been approved by Monument Academy, but in the spirit of making sure all our board members have had a chance to see the document, and it came in a little short. So we're simply tabling it until the 5th of December, and then we'll vote on it on that time. Any other discussion? Okay. Ms. Wood?
Mr. Clausen.
Aye.
Mr. Norris.
Aye.
Ms. Phillips. Aye. Mr. Schwartz.
Aye.
Ms. Upchurch.
Aye. Okay, at this time, we're moving into agenda item B1. The Board of Education wishes to honor all of those who have served in the U.S. military, both in wartime and in peacetime. And to do so, we'd like to turn the microphone over to Assistant Superintendent Amber Wetstein, who has prepared a few words.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Upchurch. Saturday marked Veterans Day in our country, and our schools have had many celebrations over the last few days to honor veterans within our community. It is my distinct honor to welcome and thank all of our veterans who are also staff members in our school district. I can think of no greater call to serve than to serve both our country, our community, and teach and serve our students. So we are so grateful for all of the veterans who also serve as staff members in our district operated and charter schools. We recognize our veteran staff for their exemplified bravery, discipline, and commitment to the greater good that Fewley True can demonstrate. They have shown the same unwavering dedication in their military service as they do in the classroom or in the other roles that they serve within our district. Each day, they bring their unique experiences and perspectives to enrich the education of our students. They bring the values of patriotism, resilience, and respect for one another to the forefront of the young minds of our students. We thank you greatly for your sacrifice and for your service and for spending time with us this evening. So let's all please join in a round of applause for these wonderful people.
Thank you, Ms. Wetstein. It truly is inspiring to hear about all those who've served in their continued impact and their contributions to our community and our schools. To recognize any individuals who have elected to spend some time with us this evening, we would like to invite the members of our Board of Education to form a line up here in front of the dais, and then we would like to welcome and show our appreciation and give handshakes to all of our veterans, which Amber Wetstein will share. And so I invite the board at this time.
And I would like to invite all veterans who also serve as District 38 staff to come up. We do have certificates for those of you who we anticipated attending this evening, but if If you are a veteran regardless, would you please come up and let us thank you? And I will call those of you by name who we were expecting, and then we'd love to have anyone else that we might be missing come up as well. And is this on? There are cords up here, so be careful that you don't trip when you come up. We'll do this. Okay. First of all, I'd like to recognize our very own Board of Education Director, Mr. Chris Norris, who also has served our country. Oh. And then we have Mr. Chris Coulter. Miss Stacy Gerber, is she here tonight? Stephen Coops. David Schindel. And Mr. Jim Taylor. Thank you. Mike Thiemling. Thanks for your service. Annie Vandenbush. Thank you for your service. Paul Willie. Thank you for your service. And Mr. David Kennington. Thank you for your service. And I am going to ask anybody else that I didn't call their name to please come up at this time. And if there is no one else, we'd like everyone to come back up so that we can take a picture with our Board of Education. Oh. Give him a round of applause. Okay, if you would, please, everyone who has served, please come up, and we would like to take a picture at this time. Thank you all again for your service.
Everybody kind of get a little close. Shorter people in front, taller people in back.
Oh, that would be me. I'm sorry. Right.
I'd be in the very front, so don't worry. All right. Ready? Three shot. 3, 2, 1.
Again, thank you all for your service and sacrifice, and also thank you to your families, because it's sacrifice to families as well. All right, tonight we are also taking time to pause for another important recognition. This will be our final meeting for two of our longstanding Board of Education members, Directors Mr. Matt Clausen and Director Mrs. Teresa Phillips. And today we want to bid both of you a farewell and express our gratitude to your dedication to our board and that you have served with such distinction. So we just want to say thank you. These outgoing board members have volunteered their time, their energy, and expertise to support and shape our education community. And their dedication to our students, our schools, and our community is truly, truly commendable. And so at this time, I'd like to offer a few words before turning it over to my fellow board members. We're all going to say thank you to you guys. So I will start. I wrote letters. So I will start with Mr. Clausen, since you're closest to me. And I'm going to read it. Dear Mr. Clausen, it's all about the kids. I'd like to share some of my favorite Clausen quotes with you all. When I first joined this board about 6 years ago, as a baby board member feeling overwhelmed, I asked you what motivated you to serve and what legacy did you hope to leave behind? You stated to leave the district a little better than when I found it, was your answer. Well, sir, I can say that with certainty and authority that yes, you have indeed made an impact, and there are so many accomplishments that I could list, but the bottom line, D38 is indeed in a better place because of your service to our stakeholders and our students. And speaking of our students, you also shared some advice that is the core of your servant heart. It's always about the kids. You have role modeled with every decision and every deliberation, and you always put the students first. And as a mentor, you remind us to always ask, how does this benefit or affect our students? And that is the most important legacy you have left behind. Another Clausen quote, I still hear this in my head, I will hear it forever in the Matt Clausen voice, and it will echo for years to come, what can I do for you today? You have a servant's heart and you lead with kindness, compassion, and conviction. You seek to serve others. And you, Matt, you've been the most senior board member for a very long time, and as such, you leave big shoes to fill. And I don't mean that figuratively, I mean literally. Matt's got big feet. But because of your leadership, you have bestowed a legacy for us to build upon and succeed. So, sir, I thank you for your service, and I also want to say thank you to the rest of the Clausen family. For you two have walked alongside this journey, and your shoes are no doubt also a little worn and weathered as well. So thank you to the entire Clausen family, and thank you for your service, sir. And with that, I will turn it on over to Mr. Schwartz.
I'm going to go over here so I can look at you.
Nice.
This is far too important to not do that. So, Mr. Clausen, first of all, most of you don't know this, but we have a special relationship. We exchange socks. We exchange socks because of what they are. We used to sit next to each other until I got kicked out. And Matt said, boy, those are nice socks. Where'd you get them? So I got him a pair, and then 2 months later, he got me 3. So now we know what to wear to support our country. Matt, by any metric, 8 years of voluntary service is an heroic commitment. When one takes into account all the things that Mr. Clausen does in his life, being an active father and a quality husband, running a dynamic and a demanding business, and volunteering in several other areas that are of great personal value to you, it's very impressive to say the least. Secondly, your service to the community and the next generation of our country matters deeply. Your ability to address items as they come up and then seek the community's input to make sure we're doing it right and eventually act as appropriate has served both the district and its constituents very, very well for nearly a decade. Your service as board president should be noted not just for the significant time commitment, but also for leading this team to hire a very high-quality executive that's helped us grow and develop our most precious asset, our children, for the last 5.5 years. So ironically, as Tiffany just said, I also want to close with, thank you for leaving this place better than the way you found it. You don't get the socks back.
Mr. Norris?
Yeah, Matt. In the short time that I've gotten to know you, since April. Your generosity, wisdom, and courage, your kindness and commitment to making kids a top priority have not gone unnoticed. You have left a lasting impact on our community, and your legacy of compassion and leadership will be remembered with deep appreciation. Thank you for your commitment and your service to D38.
Teresa or Matt, would you guys like to say anything?
I have some comments, but I'd prefer to wait until the board comment section.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Clausen?
I just want to thank each one of my fellow board members. It's a pretty significant commitment to be on the Board of Education. It usually comes at a pretty large sacrifice of you personally and for your family. My two beautiful daughters reminded me that I've been on the board more than half of their lives. And occasionally they remind me that when I'm at these board meetings, I'm not at home helping them with their school or other activities. But they've always been very gracious to allow me to serve. There's really, none of us could serve without incredible families behind us. And I want to thank our team. When I first came on the board, we had some aspirations of kind of raising the bar for our students and the quality of education, and through our incredible team, we've been able to do that. Two superintendents, Casey and Karen Broft, they did an incredible job as well. And Ms. Phillips, I don't know if it's my time yet, but I also want to thank you for your faithful service. I know it's been a time away from your business and your family as well, and it always goes unquestioned how much you love the kids. I think at one point, I recall you hearing if you could have a key to one of the schools because you frequented that so often. I think that truly typifies the love and passion that you have for our kids, and so thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clausen. I'm going to start with a round of applause. We're going to do pictures, but I just want to say thank you. I'd also like to point out just briefly that Mr. Clausen's parents are here as well this evening. And you, sir, have also served on a Board of Education, have you not? Legacy. Thank you for your service. Miss Phillips, I have a letter for you as well. Dear Teresa, I have some quotes for you too. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. John Quincy Adams. One person who is truly understanding, who takes the trouble to listen to us as we consider a problem, can change our whole outlook on the world. E.H. Maoli. And finally, peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. Albert Einstein. Teresa, your calm, your courage, and your compassion as a leader is inspiring. You too lead from a servant's heart, always with the goal of elevating our students. I asked you some thoughts on your legacy, and you shared a valuable perspective with me that is essential in education, and it is your guidepost that you stay true to, and it inspires us all not to rest on our laurels. You shared that students cannot learn without feeling safe, secure, and comfortable in their learning environment. As a board member, you lead with a strong drive to ensure our students have access to good support, good teachers, and good learning environments. And you advocate for our students every day. Every student, every day, it's not just a goal, it is truly your focus. And every single student, every single day. A good leader not only shows the way, but also walks the way. You role model, you raise questions, you find roadblocks, and you seize on what you do not know, and you push to find the answers. Your legacy is your voice. You lean in, you learn, you learn to lean in to understand, you lend a voice for those that have none. You always make yourself available to parents, staff, and students. You ask the hard questions, and you drive us all to take a pause and to think. You inspire me to be a better person and a better version of myself, and to lean in and learn. And you, my friend, are an amazing leader. Thank you. And thank you also for your family and for your service as well.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Schwartz?
May I assume my position?
I did not give you any socks.
That'll be the first part of my speech. When do I get my socks? So I wanted to begin by really setting something up for everybody that's here today. Because as volunteers on this board, we all have a couple things in common. One is we have a passion for results, the results that are associated with a quality education. Secondly, we all have an eye towards the future and a willingness to try to shape it via our community's children. We have a sense of giving in our community. And maybe most importantly, everybody shares an internal drive so to make sure our D38 graduates are quality contributors to whatever community they choose to be part of. But it's beyond these table stakes that Ms. Phillips has gone. And the next natural question that I think she asks is, what does a board member do to establish themselves vis-a-vis those they volunteered to serve? And I want to take a couple of moments for everybody here and summarize a few of the actions, achievements, and passions in this area that really created that lasting impact that are in the things we all share together here. So just a couple simple facts and results of the last 4 or 5 years. Ms. Phillips was asked to oversee the physical and emotional safety area of our district's strategic plan about 4 years ago. Since that time, the district has moved swiftly to do several things. In the physical safety area, the district has moved to 21st century radios for our security personnel and first responders. That's important because now everybody's on one network and everybody can communicate immediately, increases our situational awareness and reduces our response times. We've built safety vestibules in every one of our buildings in this district, and we've coated almost every single window with velocity reduction materials. We've also upgraded across the district public address systems to current technologies versus last century's technologies. So it gives us reliability and a chance to add any application we want based on our needs at the current time. On the social emotional wellness, Ms. Phillips has done a tremendous amount of work that we don't see. She is the go-to person when families and students and community members make phone calls and want to have in-person meetings about things that are important and impact them. And she forges the internal communications to try to make things happen. We also, during this time, she oversaw it, created both the purposeful and programmatic support and training system around character education, which for the first time included community validation, which really enhances uniform adoption and transparency. And because of that, we actually have a mechanism now where we can evaluate results at the student level and create metrics and establish baselines so we can call out our successes in our areas for improvement. In academics, we've continued to be accredited with distinction, which means we're in the top 6% of the state. But more importantly, we reversed a trend where we were going downhill in K through 3 literacy, and now we're going uphill again. And that's a big deal because that's where kids move from learning to read to reading to learn. She's also been a relentless advocate for the arts, especially in our education system. And I, for one, didn't really understand that. But she advocated for these not purely because of our students' awards and our teachers' achievements, but for the academic value. So I chose to research this just a little bit further and found something pretty interesting in Scientific America correlating the connection between music and math. And I thought I'd read it to you briefly. It's about 5 sentences. Research has suggested that the link may be driven by high-level cognitive processing skills that are necessary for both subjects, such as executive functions, which allow individuals to adjust to changing task demands. Executive functions are known to be a strong predictor of academic achievement, even more so than general intelligence. Playing a musical instrument recruits these functions through, for example, constantly adjusting your motor movements and changing tempos and key signatures. So thank you for helping drive us to things that we didn't understand that are good for our kids and ultimately good for our country. Additionally, I asked a few members of the team if they had any reflections on their interactions with Ms. Phillips. Here are just a few excerpts from 4 or 5 people. Ms. Phillips has shown genuine interest in my responsibility, the staff, students, and families that I serve, and in me as an individual. Another person noted, she's intentful and very thoughtful in her listening. She has ability to make take in multiple viewpoints and see value in all of them, but still keep the staff and the students in the forefront of every decision she makes. Her integrity is unparalleled. Somebody else noted that I love the genuine way in which she listens. I wouldn't hesitate to reach out and discuss needs or suggestions with her at any time. Ms. Phillips has had a profound impact on D38, and her service will be greatly missed. One other noted, she's truly demonstrated leadership with integrity, conviction, and a heart for our community. She'll leave a lasting positive impact on the students and the family and the staff of Lewis Palmer School District. Somebody else said something a little bit different, but pretty impactful. She's a dedicated parent, devoted spouse, and a fierce advocate. She takes the time to listen and understand and has a brave dedication to always fight for what she feels is right for the greater community. And finally, I thought this was quite interesting. She's willing to hear the hard things and try to make a difference. She didn't avoid the difficult conversations and yet maintained an attitude of service stoically. Finally, and maybe of further value, her contributions to our team has brought a level of intellect and elegance that has raised the level by which we operate. And it's a testament to some of your core values, which I seem to remember as focus on individual teachers as well as individual students, not as a cohort, but as a person. Listening intently and seeking to understand versus purely placating with words. Making well thought out comments that inspire high quality actions, and addressing controversy head on, not kicking the can down the road, and putting the students and staff of the community first and personal objectives very far behind. For as long as I've had the opportunity to serve in this role, Ms. Phillips has set the bar properly at the highest levels for us, both in how she operates, her actions, and her integrity. Thank you for leaving this standard as your legacy for us.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Mr. Norris?
So we met for the first time right over there at those doors for the interview for the appointment. And you greeted me with such kindness, a warm smile, and a welcoming spirit. And I knew at that point in time that I was in good company with this approach to the board. And it's that same characteristic that you bring to the school that creates the environment where every child feels valued and prioritized. Your big heart has left an indelible mark here at the school district. I know I'm grateful for everything you've done for the lives of the children and the families. I'm grateful for the positive impact you've left on me, and I thank you for your service for D38.
Thank you very much.
I will open the floor if either of you have anything else to say or share. If you want to wait till later, that's fine.
I will wait just a few minutes until after the student presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. As we bid farewell to these two outstanding individuals, we should remember that their contributions will continue to benefit our community for years to come. Their legacy is imprinted, clearly imprinted in the achievements of our students and the continued progress of our schools. To our outgoing board members, your selfless dedication has left an undeniable mark on our education system. And we thank you for your service, your leadership, and your commitment to our students' future. And at this time, we'd like to invite Ms. Phillips and Mr. Clausen to both receive a gift and take a final photo with the board up front. And we'd also like that opportunity while we're doing that. We'll do the board, and then we'll make sure we get family in there as well. And I think we have some practices to get off to, too.
Let's get a picture just you and I, if we could. Sure, I'll take the flowers.
Thank you both again. Also, congratulations to some of our young Clausens who were part of a championship volleyball team this weekend. All right, our next item is, let me get to my computer. Is our introduction of our Lewis Palmer High School student representatives. I believe Mr. Schwartz and Ms. Phillips, you're up.
I'll go ahead and begin.
Yes, yeah.
So just for those who aren't familiar with the tradition, we began a month ago at hopefully every District 38 board meeting, we will have student representatives. And the rationale behind this is two or threefold. One, a lot of these students have volunteered in their local student government, and we thought it would be smart, since we have this venue available, to get them experience at local community government. Secondly, it's wonderful for us to have the voice of the student and have them tell us what's going on in the lives of them and their peers. And thirdly, for us as a team, it is wonderful to be with our customers while we are doing our business, so that we always keep them in the forefront of our mind. Having said that, next to me on my left is Lily. She's a senior at Lewis Palmer High School. She's also the class president. She runs cross country, and she has just committed to attend Northeastern University in Boston, for those of you that haven't been to that region, and she's going to study business administration and biology. So look for her to run a startup. So Lily, welcome.
Thank you.
And to my right is Taylor, who is the current student body vice president at Lewis Palmer High School. She's also a captain on the POMS team, and she's planning to pursue a degree in public speaking right now, hopefully to attend a private Christian university out of state.
And the ladies have a small, brief presentation to go through with us. So, ladies, we'll turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you again for giving us this time to kind of present on our recent updates as a school. So here is our November update for Lewis Palmer High School.
So we kind of wanted to start off by just saying that whenever you ask the student body to do something, you need to make sure that your intention and your why is very clear. Because students don't like to give when they don't have a reason to give. And so something we kind of came together as a student council this year, we said we want to make our hearts very vivid to the student body so that they would know why they are donating. So the main goal of Harvest of Love is to just give back to the Colorado Springs community, and also just to allow students to see their individual impact. I think it's really hard when you're giving and you don't know why and you don't know where it's going. And so our main goal is to just be able to bring this awareness to the student body and make it something that they could directly participate in.
So for this week, for those of you who don't know, Harvest of Love is a community-wide kind of week. There are multiple weeks throughout the districts in which they all give back to Tri-Lakes Cares, actually in our local monument community, which is really cool. And it gives a chance for students and families alike to donate to the ones in need within our community. So for this week, we as a student council decided to make this a bigger week than we have in the past. So we did that by promoting students to donate through an array of events. So up there on the slideshow, you can see kind of a bunch of pictures from our week, in which consisted of a bunch of fun things. So we first hosted carnival games within the mornings and the lunch periods to promote students to donate.
Yeah, and then another thing that we were able to do is create daily announcements of Harvest Love facts that would be able to just educate the student body on the need in our community, because again, highlighting our hearts is what's important. I think in a time where mental health is just we're having a really hard time balancing what it's like to keep a good mental health. One of the biggest things is to remain super thankful. And so I think by giving these facts, we were able to stir their hearts and their minds towards a heart of giving. And I just noticed a lot of joy and a lot of realization when people realize that, yeah, there are a lot of people that go without meals. There are a lot of people that don't have what we have. And to just remain with that really thankful heart was really awesome. And then we also did kind of a snack packing event where we were able to just take all the things that we had collected during that week and be able to kind of put it together in one big package. So.
Yes, and those snack packs go out to our D38 schools for students that are in need. And it was a great way for kids to get community service hours within school, and then also, as Taylor said, kind of set their hearts on what they were doing throughout that week and what we were promoting. Additionally, we created a flyer that was sent out in our Sunday push message, which consisted of all of our donation events, so both parents and families alike could be notified of what was going on within the school and then partake as needed. This also had a link where they could donate virtually, which was something that we implemented new this year, and it was a great way for parents to kind of just be in the know of what we were doing as a school. And then lastly, we had a front office setup, which you can kind of see on the bottom left corner, in which we had a balloon arch, and we also had a competition in which students could drop cans off towards their favorite department, in which that department would win a lunch of their choosing. So congrats to the front office and student services that won. They did an amazing job raising money and donations for Harvest of Love. So the results from this year, overall we raised exactly 2,846 food items and dollars to go towards Tri-Lakes Cares, which is a considerable amount comparing to our 2021 and 2022 donations. We raised over 6,500 cans and dollars within both of the schools, which was an amazing contribution in which the Tri-Lakes Cares organization was truly thankful as to when we dropped everything off. Just to be able to give back to the community from a school perspective was so cool, and dropping those items off at the center was an amazing experience just for us to realize what we did and the impact that we made on the community itself. So, yeah, we also had a donation tracker spreadsheet, which was actually made by one of our own student council representatives, and it had our earnings in comparison to PR's earnings, so we can kind of amplify the competition that we had beneath the two schools, which was great, as it encouraged more students to donate and more students to truly set their hearts into this fun and eventful week.
So we just also wanted to recognize some additional celebrations that are happening at our school. Again, congratulations to volleyball. They made it to the semifinals in state, which is really awesome. And then I also am so proud of football. They actually won their first playoff game, which is huge. We haven't made the playoffs in a few years, and we haven't won a playoff game since 2015. So it's been really awesome just to kind of see the vibrancy of the school. One of the things that really strikes me about LP is just our sense of community and our sense of spirit, because no matter whether we win or lose, we know that we are united together. And I just have loved being able to see our sports thrive, and just the response from the student body, from faculty, from our community, just supporting us in that has been so encouraging to see.
Additionally, we also had our theater department had their fall musical performance of Your Good Man, Charlie Brown, in which 2 of our STUCO members were actually a part of, and we got to see the performance ourselves, and it was awesome to just rally around them and celebrate their awesome tributes to LP Theater. Additionally, we also, as a student council, made first responder bags for the local heroes in our area to thank them for the work that they continually do day in and day out. So, yes, that was our celebrations for the month of November. So thank you for letting us present.
Excellent update and excellent comments. Thank you. Both of you were very well spoken. You guys will go far in life. Okay, at this time we are going to move on to public comments. In accordance with policy BEDH, the board will hear comments from members of the public who have signed up to speak. It is our goal as a board to continuously listen and improve, and we invite members of our community to speak publicly for a total of 30 minutes. Speakers will be allotted up to 3 minutes each, and time may be divided equally if more than 10 speakers sign up. Groups with a united concern may be asked to appoint a spokesperson. The Board of Education does not expressly or individually respond to public comments, and to this point, comments expressed do not represent the position or opinion of the Board of Education or D38. And finally, we ask that you keep comments shared appropriate for our PK-12 audience and be respectful at all times. Should you have an issue with a staff member that you would like to address, please consider sharing that criticism and concern with the superintendent, who is responsible for supervising all staff and involving the board as necessary. Ms. Wood, there are no public comments today. So with that, we will move on to board comments. Mr. Schwartz?
No more comments. You've heard enough from me today. Thank you.
Ms. Phillips?
I do have a rather lengthy comment.
It's your turn.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take some time here to say a few words, more than a few words, actually, so bear with me. I do have them typed tonight, which I haven't had in months. So, as you all know, the D38 Board of Education functions as a policy governance board. We strive to learn best practices, and we collaborate inside and outside D38 with very thorough discussion to determine the best guidelines for all of our students. That said, I will start by highlighting direct community involvement. I've witnessed community members create new possibilities and then achieve highly impactful results for our young people. We've witnessed many community members find solutions to tough challenges. I'd like to acknowledge two of those tonight. The first is Ms. Lisa Glenn, a parent and involved community member who initiated and then followed through to lead what became an extensive effort to create a new chapter of Special Olympics to help transform the lives of people with intellectual disabilities, allowing them to realize their full potential in sports and in life. Many of them are D38 students. This chapter of Special Olympics has been mentored by and is in partnership with our high school volleyball and basketball programs, providing opportunity for students to interact and then mentor each other. We now have a varsity letter program for the Special Olympic athletes, and this board has previously recognized the significant contribution and partnership with D38 and the community as a whole that this chapter provides. Lisa's initiative is a fantastic example of passion and persistence over time that opened doors for numerous students. Her personal connections, parental commitment, and willing to invest many hours created the pathway to not only get an impactful organization started, but to set up systemic continuity and personnel such that it will grow and continue much beyond her. The Monument Warriors chapter of Southern Colorado Special Olympics is now a sustained program in our community that will function well into the future. Lisa, thank you for being a role model to this board and to our entire community. I also want to highlight Miss Amber Newberry. Amber's initial conversations and then tireless efforts have dramatically improved school environments by providing gold standard research and information on appropriate behavior and relational boundaries, honest communication, and authentic and healthy connections. She has been integrally involved with Consent Task Force this year, a community-built initiative to have comprehensive conversations around keeping our students safe by teaching them important relational skills and through reviewing current policies. Amber, you too are a role model to us and our entire community, so thank you. These women understand what great educators inherently know. When students feel at ease, when they feel welcome and can gain trust in the environment and the people around them to accept versus reject them, they are much more able to absorb, integrate, and interact in a learning environment. Students at ease learn best. Communities who allow and help their children feel at ease elevate their performance in school. In short, when the message is, you matter and we care, much can be accomplished. Challenges often don't have solutions that are simple or granular. Listening to others' experiences provides empathy and a path to much better understanding. There is rarely a perfect solution. When we see policies made by those who have never spoken to the stakeholders who will be affected by that given policy, that simply does not work. Students are inevitably harmed by myopic, ill-informed attempts to address a fear of the unknown. We do best when modeling for our younger generations that collaboration, listening, sometimes listening again, getting beyond me and my, and they and them, and collectively embracing us and we within our community. I have seen members of this school district, school board, and community take action and achieve strides to understand, accept, fully respect, and work with each other, much to the benefit of staff and students. And I have learned much from each and all of you, and I mean everyone here. The transportation department and the maintenance department, administrative assistants throughout the district, thank you for your engagement and patience in helping me understand challenges and possible solutions. I know I will miss some individuals tonight, but I want to specifically thank the following: Rick Frampton, Dennis Coates, Michael Brahm, Lori Benton, Karen Broft, Vicki Wood, Alicia Welch, Ken and Brenda Lesage, Adam Frank, Cynthia and Butch Eversole, Sean O'Connor, Jess McAllister, Amber Wetstein, Brett Ridgway, Chris Coulter, Chris Thomas, Devon Johnson, Peggy Parsley, Peggy Griebenow, Mark Belcher, Ted and Jerry Jean Bauman, Laura Stamp, Bridget O'Connor. Numerous retirees and community members who sought out meaningful conversations, and Dr. Casey Summers. And again, thank you cannot be said enough to every teacher in District 38. We are so fortunate to have so many incredible educators and staff who authentically care. Thank you to each of my fellow board members. I wish each of you well moving forward. Those that follow this board are aware of your strengths, and I personally know the time and effort involved in serving and the sacrifice to your families. It is not insignificant. I appreciate that people would like to recognize our years of service on the board, and I'm so grateful for the many messages and the very thoughtful gestures. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing D38 continue to endeavor to thrive. To staff, parents, and most importantly to every student, you matter and we care.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Mr. Clausen.
You know, I don't know that I could top anything that Ms. Phillips did, so I just concur with everything.
That's another Clausen quote.
But once again, I do want to thank our team. It's been incredible, and as Ms. Upchurch indicated, when I joined the board, my goal was to leave it better than I found it. And as board member, I could only do a very small amount, and it's you, our team members, our incredible principals, teachers that have been able to raise the standard for our kids. So thank you so much, and it was truly a privilege associating and serving with you, and just know that I'm 100% committed to this district. Was asked by one of my stakeholders if there's one thing that I could change while I was on the board, if I could go back, what would that be? And there's actually a lot of them that I wish I could change, but one thing that as a board I wish we were more successful at is being able to raise money to be more competitive for our teachers. I think we have some of the best teachers in the nation, and hopefully sometime down the road, the new board will be able to find a way to go to our stakeholders once again and provide the resources necessary to compensate our teachers, our administrators, and our team members on the level that they deserve to be paid. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clausen. Mr. Norris?
No comments.
Well, I don't know that I can follow any of that up. We've recognized our community members and our staff tonight, and we've recognized some amazing board members. So I do want to elevate real quick our kids. I want to say congratulations to first of all, to our incoming board members who will tentatively be sworn in on December 5th. We're hoping that's when the results will be certified. One of our new board members is with us tonight, Ms. Patty Shank. So congratulations. Our other incoming board member, Mr. Todd Brown, will be with us also on December 5th. So I also want to celebrate and acknowledge our students that we hear from and that reach out to us and advocate and share their voice. That takes bravery and courage as well. And I appreciate our students and your voices. We have students that are about to compete in DECA on November 15th. And so I want to wish them a good luck. For those that had the honor to attend Palmer Ridge High School's Addams Family, it was a fantastic production. And as was already referred to, Lewis Palmer High School earlier this fall performed Charlie Brown. And both shows have been amazing shows. I attended Palmer Ridge High School's assembly to celebrate their state champion and undefeated gymnastics team. And I'll be back to celebrate with the students this week as they celebrate another state championship for their volleyball team. And I also want to share, as was shared, an honorable mention to the amazing women of the Lewis Palmer High School volleyball team. And we may not be done yet. We may be celebrating our football teams who are still going strong in their state playoffs. Last week I bumped into Mr. Clausen while we attended our athletes signing day at Lewis Palmer High School and also at Palmer Ridge High School. We had 10 students at Lewis Palmer High School, and just to give you a statistic, prep students, between about 3% to sometimes 5% of prep students go on to a Division I school to play further beyond high school, and we had 10 of those at Lewis Palmer High School. So that's pretty impressive. We've got a pretty impressive group of kids. And I also was able to celebrate our veterans with a few of our elementary schools, where our elementary students displayed their gratitude, pride, and patriotism for the service and sacrifice of our veterans. And all of this that's going on around our district, and there's so much more, I just kept thinking of all the wonderful things that our kids and who our kids are and all the things that our kids are doing. From getting certifications in CTE programs from whether it's Photoshop or our construction program. There's so much going on in our school district and so much good that our kids are doing. And that is a direct result of parents and educators teaming up together for our kids in this school district. So I just wanted to elevate how awesome our kids are, because I'm pretty darn proud of who we are at D38, Lewis Palmer School District. So I just wanted to share and elevate our kids. And Ms. Wetstein?
Are you passing it to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I feel like tonight is a night of celebration, so I will piggyback on where Mrs. Upchurch left off with celebrating many things since our last meeting. And we always like to start with our strategic mission and vision and values, always working to elevate every student every day. As Mrs. Upchurch mentioned, we are so excited about our gymnastics state champions. And this is the first time that the Palmer Ridge High School women's gymnastics team has won a state championship. It was the first state championship of the year for District 38, but there's more to come. They took the top spot with an overall score of 183.85. McKenna Cook earned an all-around placing of 3rd place, and Braylon Marr earned 4th place. And the second state championship went to the women's volleyball team, also at Palmer Ridge High School. These student athletes played their hearts out and clinched the top spot in the 4A tournament Saturday. They earned District 38 its 2nd state championship, also the 2nd title in 4 years for this program. And we've shared a little bit about the Veterans Day activities that have been happening across the district. I also had the opportunity to attend several of these, and they were very inspiring and heartfelt. We had activities happening at Lewis Palmer Elementary School, Bear Creek Elementary School, Kilmer Elementary School, and Prairie Winds. We also want to say thank you to the United States Air Force Academy Cadet Honor Guard, who performed at both Kilmer and Prairie Winds. And we appreciate the role models that these veterans are for our students and the spirit of the performances that they brought. Here's a few more pictures of celebration from last week. Also recently, we had an author visit at Lewis Palmer Middle School, Tommy Greenwald, who is the author of the book Rivals. This is the 2nd year that the middle school participated in an all-school reads program where all of the students and staff read the book Rivals, and then this program culminated with the author visiting and speaking with students. Through the reading project, students learned about coping with burdens placed upon them while determining their own future, while pondering hard questions like, is winning more important than doing the right thing? And I too enjoyed the production of the Addams Family musical at Palmer Ridge High School. We highly encourage all of you to participate in our musical programs in the district. They are quite a treat. We have wonderful student actors. Congratulations to the crew, the staff, all who made this performance wonderful. We also last week hosted a Troops and Trades showcase with a college fair. This was coordinated among both of our high schools. It spotlighted pathways for students to take a look at what they might be interested in their futures. There were nearly 50 colleges and other organizations, to include military and trades organizations, to speak with our students. And also, as mentioned earlier, we celebrated students who signed to the colleges of their choice, student athletes, I should say, and you see their names listed here. We will be bringing these students forward for formal recognition at another time, but congratulations to all these amazing student athletes. Last week, we celebrated our first ever Careers in Construction home build program by launching the beam to the roof for our very first home build. And in this event, students and staff members all signed the beam that was to be raised into place that morning. This first home build will be finalized by the spring this year. And if you want to follow along with the progress, this is happening at Lewis Palmer High School. Okay, finally, I'd like to share some very high-level results from our most recent staff and family surveys. We are also wrapping up currently our student survey, and we'll be sharing those results at another time. I want to take a moment and remind everyone the purpose of these surveys. So the staff survey helps us to take a look at how we are providing a work environment that allows each team member to perform at a high level. And we also survey our families so that we can ensure that we are providing a welcoming environment where we live up to our vision of elevating every student every day. I'm sharing some very high-level results this evening, and then we will take a deeper dive into these survey results at an upcoming board work session. Overall, we had 469 staff members participate. That's about half of our staff, with an overall mean score of 3.82 on a 5-point scale, and that's overall satisfaction with their position as employees in our district. And then for families, we had 540 respondents. So one goal we have, this is a baseline data, as Mr. Schwartz mentioned earlier tonight, and so we really want to emphasize the importance of hearing every voice in these surveys so that we can listen and learn and create actions for improvement. The overall mean for parent and caregiver satisfaction was 4.07. Here are the 3 top strengths that were identified by our families. They believe the schools are clean and well maintained. They believe they are treated with respect at our schools, and they believe that their children's learning is a high priority. For our employees, the top strengths were feeling that the organization level resources, are allocated to maximize effectiveness. I think this might be out of order, so I'm going to just go with what it is. This is actually opportunities. So this was opportunities for improvement from our employees. We need to do better at helping our staff understand how organization level resources are allocated to maximize effectiveness across the organization. They also want to receive more feedback concerning areas for improving their performance. And we had a tie for the third opportunity, which were between feeling supported and balanced in their work responsibilities, as well as feeling like the resources in their immediate work environment were allocated to maximize effectiveness. The strengths that employees identified were believing that their work positively impacts those they serve, having a clear understanding of the mission and goals of the organization, and feeling a sense of pride when they tell folks where they work. Our families identified these as the top areas for improvement. They want to receive positive phone calls, emails, or notes about their children. They want to receive regular feedback from the school on how well their children are learning. And they want to understand that school rules are enforced consistently at the school. So these are very high-level results, again, and we will go deeper into these at an upcoming work session. Our next steps are to share this information and these results with our Parent and Community Advisory Committee this week, as well as our Staff Collaboration Committee. And then each principal and department chair or department head is also sharing the results of these surveys specifically to how their own staff and students responded. As mentioned, we will also be sharing the student survey results in the near future, and using these results to drive action plans within our strategic plan. And that is my update for this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Wettstein. Dr. Summers could not be with us this evening as he's out of town, so our assistant superintendent is filling in and doing great. Thank you so much. All right, at this time we will move on to our board discussion and action items, and we've tabled item C1. So we are now on C2, which is C1. Consider approve policy revisions KDB, Public's Right to Know and Freedom of Information. This is a second reading.
Ms. Upchurch, I'd like to make a motion to approve the revisions to policy KDB, public rights to know and freedom of information as presented.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Nope, seeing none. Ms. Woods?
Mr. Clausen.
Aye.
Mr. Norris.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz.
Aye.
Ms. Upchurch.
Aye. Our next item is C3, Financial Planning and Analysis. Mr. Ridgway, is there anything that has changed in the last 3 weeks?
Yes,
Oh.
of course there is more information. So actually, let's start with, unfortunately, something that I added just this morning. So I apologize for adding this morning, but there's a particular graph I wanted to show based on the release of the governor's budget proposal. Okay, so I know this is obnoxious, and many of the things I do are, but this is not a graph that you're supposed to look at any particular point because this is a graph of all 178 school districts in the state. And it's a 100% stacked bar chart about the School Finance Act for every single school district. And what I'm really trying to draw attention to is the two different colors and the trend of these colors in here. The orange area represents local funding, and the yellow area in this case in the upper right represents the level of state funding. One of the things that I want to highlight on this is that this year there are 13 districts in the state that are fully locally funded, and that is kind of an emphasis or a validation of the point that the primary responsibility for funding schools lies with the local community. And so if that funding is met only with local community support, then the state support is not necessary. When it is not met with the local community support, then the state share comes in and makes that balance out. But the real point I really wanted to emphasize on this was when the governor announced his budget proposal and said, hey, we'll be eliminating the budget stabilization factor for this. That, of course, is a good thing, but I wanted to use this chart to really emphasize the materiality of that. It's a 1.6% adjustment. And so if you zoom in on this chart and you see that we have these 13 districts on the left that are fully locally funded, that means they're fully funded according to the School Finance Act because they are not receiving any budget stabilization factor because they're not receiving any state share. So this little slot up here at the top where you see this white area at the top up to the line, this blank is really what the budget stabilization factor is for this school year. So it's shown at the bottom of the graph as a negative. So it's this little blue section in these graphs at the bottom for basically 165 of the 168 school districts have this little layer of funding withheld, if you will, because of the budget stabilization factor. The budget stabilization factor, for those who don't know, is a method that the state utilizes to balance the state budget because the state has to have a balanced budget, can't operate at a deficit like the federal government does. And so it's been something that has been in existence now for well over a decade since the Great Recession. And in these recent couple of years has been trending down quickly. And so, yes, if it does expire in the 24-25 year, that will be great. But I want to emphasize that it is not the answer to any particular situation. It is just part of the equation. So we'd be happy to see it go away. Part of the other reality is that the budget stabilization factor is a concept in and of itself that also will not go away even if the number is 0 next year. It can come back in the future. It is something that is there as a tool for the legislature to use in the future to balance their budget. So I did this again just to bring some information and to highlight that point so that when we're reading this information about that governor's budget proposal, that we receive it with some appropriate level of context. It's not, again, it's a good thing. It's not an answer to any particular question. It's just one less thing that we would have to worry about in the future. Questions or comments on that?
Where's District 38?
So we're right here in the middle. That's why this bar is here to highlight that.
So right in the middle?
Right in the
pretty
middle.
much?
And again, this is sorted from left to right in terms of level of local share. So again, it's the orange is the local property taxes, the yellow is the state share. The little gray in between is what we call specific ownership tax. It's a very, relatively, it's not very material, but it's just enough to make sure that we have to keep track of it. So, yeah, so District 38 is kind of right in the middle of this, where we receive still a majority of our support from state share and not from local share. I think we're of the 178 school districts, we're in the left half here, but right around 60% of our support comes from the state share. Yes, sir.
Is the BS factor directly proportional to the quantity of dollars sent from the state to a district, or does it vary?
It is a fairly consistent percentage, so of the numbers that would otherwise come from the state. So again, it's 1.6%. When you zoom in and you just see this little bit down here, it's very consistent across the board on these 165 school districts. It's basically taking a trim of 1.6% of the total School Finance Act out of the state share payment.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? This is really great data. Thank you.
Sure.
How long did it take you to put that together?
Oh, about 5 minutes.
You buy that?
Is there a question you wish we would ask you?
About that data?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I don't want to overdo that data. It's just a little piece of context I want everyone to have. For the rest of the update here, we talk about, as we go through the fall, a lot about enrollment. We're tracking enrollment as it comes. We have this spreadsheet that has been in here for a number of years, that you've been presented for a number of years, that we're continuing here. And then I also provided some additional information and some analysis breakdown of that sheet. And we've gone over this several times in these last few meetings. The point of this on the far right is to compare this which is a student head count number. And that's going to be kind of the biggest point of the conversation I want to have tonight, is the difference between student head count versus funded student full-time equivalents, which is a related but very different concept for us. So according to our K-12 budget, and I'll show you some additional emphasis on some information on why I'm emphasizing this is the K-12 budget, meaning not including preschool. With the change to universal preschool this year, preschool students have come out of the School Finance Act, and so I'm going to demonstrate that for you a little bit in a couple of slides as well. But in our student head count budget, we are down 113 students total district. 80 of that reduction of that shortfall exists at Monument Academy, which represents 6.5% decline from budget. For them, 33 students for the District 38 operated schools, which is basically 0.5%. So it's, materially speaking, it's a much different conversation for the two entities here between operated schools and MA.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
And maybe it's here and I'm not seeing it, but did Monument Academy have projections when they built their new facility as far as what they anticipated in way of students at this point?
They did. They definitely did. I don't have that information with me on hand. That would have been in that charter application in particular when they went to a secondary school. I know it's something that is a particular point of focus and concern for them, and not achieving what they intended to. But in terms of the exact quantity, I don't have that with me.
Thank you.
Sure. So with those two charts, again, that focus on student headcount as a backdrop, then I have the other part of the presentation here is really to start to translate this into the School Finance Act. And the School Finance Act really has those two main variables of per pupil revenue and funded student count, which is student full-time equivalent. So I wanted to kind of reset us and reorient us back to our to our budget conversations for 23-24. And so these first two slides are the slides that were out of that budget package. So when we were talking earlier in the spring, before we finalized our budget, this was the original projection I had made for the School Finance Act, which included the projections for student count, for funded student count, and for per pupil revenue. And then that, and mainly that the issue here was we had initially oriented ourselves around $9,800 of per pupil revenue funding for next year. And when we got to the final budget that we adopted in June, that number increased to $10,000. So that was a good increase right there at the end, which was able to really help us finalize those pay changes that we put through the pay schedules last year, which have been implemented as we go into this year. What I have in this schedule, there's a lot of numbers there, and so I'm wanting to emphasize also version control, if you will, because we're looking at data from 22-23, we're looking at data from 23-24, and there are different data sets, and so we want to make sure which data set we are looking at and talking about. So the color coding that I have doesn't show as well on the big screen. Hopefully it shows a little bit better on this screen in front here. And so that I'm just trying to emphasize the different data sets that we are talking about here. So on this screen we have the left, which is the 22-23 amended budget. When we were launching into 23-24, that was our launch point. What was our final budget that we adopted for last year? How was that going to be used as the springboard to launch into this year? And then we had the projected adopted budget there on the right side. What, of course, has happened since then is that we've wrapped up the 22-23 year, and so we have actual results and not just the 22-23 budgeted results to consider. And so there's kind of something that, from this selection, which went from the budget to the projected adopted budget, now we have something that kind of slides right into between those two, meaning what was the 22-23 budget, how did we actually finish 22-23, and then how does that relate to the original 23-24 budget. And what's important here is that when we were having this conversation last spring and into this year, because of the changes and kind of the complicated nature of that change of going from locally sponsored preschool and the Colorado preschool program into this universal preschool program that now exists at a statewide level, I did not make changes in the initial budget assumption to reflect that because I wanted to wait and see how that would play out. And now is the time that I can basically pull those numbers out of both sides of the equation. And so here, when I look at both last year's results, which are kind of key in the middle here, and the original adopted budget, what I want everyone to know is that both versions of those two data sets included 40 funded students of preschool, which as we go into 23-24 now, those preschool students, again, are going to come out of the School Finance Act. They're going to be funded separately directly by the UPK program. And so those 40 students generated about $365,000 of funding in the 22-23 School Finance Act. And for 23-24, of course, we had 40 students, and we had the 400, at $10,000 per student is a $400,000 assumption was in the 23-24 budget. So both of those pieces are going to come out of those two data sets, both in the 22-23 actual and then the 23-24 budget, as we work our way bridging towards what is our amended budget for 23-24 now going to look like. And so end up having kind of the real final actual results that will appear in our final audit report when that is completed. And then we have this subset, this material subset of the 22-23 results, which is, again, everything excluding the preschool at that point. And then I want to be able to say now is the proper time to then introduce where are we headed with the 23-24 projected amended budget, given that we talked about these different data sets, where we're at, what's in, what's out of those. And what is the variance then that we are seeing, and how will that affect the decisions that we need to make as we go to the final amended budget here in January. So, a complicated part of the School Finance Act and of the funded student count, the student full-time equivalent issue that I was mentioning earlier, is that not only is there translation of which students are part-time versus full-time, because the part-time students don't count as a full-time funded student as well. Homeschool is a good example of that, right? We have homeschool students. It's a whole body, of course, but it's only funded at 50%. So that counts as a half of a student in a funded student count conversation. There's also all kinds of individual situations where students may be taking classes at other places as part of their student load, so only a portion of their day counts for us here. There's also something in the School Finance Act that deals with a smoothing mechanism based on year-to-year changes if your student count is decreasing from year to year. It's called student count averaging, and that's a part of the equation as well. So these things kind of pile on to what starts with a very simple, hey, how many students do we have, and creates sometimes a different answer than what we saw in the student head count, simplistic data. So student count averaging is actually going to be assisting us this year and kind of muting our decline from year to year, because that's what it's designed to do. So overall, what I want to be able to say, to cut to some chase here, is that 130 student count difference that we talked about in student head count is going to be muted down to 84 student count difference in a funded perspective, student full-time equivalents. It still is very relational, as you would expect, between what is the change in the operated portfolio and what is the change in Monument Academy. Of those 83.9, yes, there's 9/10 of a student somehow. If that 83.9, I'll just keep zooming in here, 71.5 of that, it will be attributed to Monument Academy, and 12 of that will be attributed to the operated schools. And so that creates a volume variance in the budget from the original budget of $123,000 for the operated schools. Again, that's very negligible. We're talking about 99.8% accuracy on the funded student count, which I'm sorry, but the future years probably won't be that precise. It's always something like my father was an airline pilot, and landing a 747 is something like a controlled crash, really. And so putting it all together and getting it to be 99.8% accurate is kind of, there's a lot of luck involved in that, in all honesty. Nevertheless, I strive for it.
Can you control next year's crash to be close?
Yes. And then MA's number will be 715,000. So again, this is a much more material number for them on a $10 million budget than $123,000 is for us on a $58 million budget, or $50 million budget, I'm sorry, on the operated schools. So that's our starting point. And then again, that's kind of a lengthy explanation, but I really wanted to lay that out and step it out for you about how that student count, that October count, is important, how it gets translated, because it's not as clear of a translation as you might expect from that student count into the funded School Finance Act result. And so I'm projecting just the volume variance here in next month, or probably not, actually not until January now. It used to be in December we'd get a rate variance hint, but it'll probably end up being more like January. But a rate variance probably will overcome this volume variance on the operated side. I think we'll have enough positive rate variance. It will not do the same thing on the Monument Academy side, because this is just too big of a material adjustment in their student count.
A question?
Sure.
What are the lessons learned from that?
Well, the lessons learned, as I talk about MA in particular.
Either way.
Either way. Well, so I did an analysis last spring to project the combined enrollment budget for 23-24. MA was confident in their numbers and used their numbers despite what my projection indicated. The student count that they are actually realizing this year is much closer to the number I projected for them than the number that they projected for themselves. So I think both from the MA perspective, as I've talked to them about it, and from my perspective here from the operated side, I want to make sure that we come into really much closer agreement so that they don't have this type of risk hanging over their head going into a future year. But I think for the operated side, this is a really great scenario, a great launch point for us as we go into amended budget, because we don't have anything big hanging over the heads on the operated schools. We can keep going as we have been, making adjustments as are appropriate and necessary based on programming and student count needs in specific schools and specific programs within the schools.
It sounds like it provides us significantly more agility and control over our destiny.
Yes, exactly, and that's what I'm striving for always, with a higher level of precision. When I'm striving for this 98 to 100%, window of precise performance, that's exactly the intent of it, is to make sure that we can mostly be always looking forward. What are we at now, and where can we move forward, and not have to have too many steps back.
How would you control for, I understand you're averaging for the preschool numbers, but how would you control for a significantly larger cohort if and when that ever occurs? If you have more preschoolers than you anticipate.
Yeah.
Can you?
I can probably speak to that.
Okay.
We are only opening slots for where we have the facility capacity and the staffing capacity currently. And so we are working with our partner at Joint Initiatives, who is managing the preschool enrollment for our region. And we communicate with them often to let them know what space we have available. And so we can very much anticipate and control that situation.
That's more of a known entity.
This last page is probably something I could have led with, and maybe it would have answered a few questions sooner. But 2 columns to look at in terms of this data would here's the 33 student count adjustment that I mentioned for the operated schools, and how that translates into the 12 student count final answer, if you will. So.
Anyone else? Well, what I do appreciate.
I chased the students away. But I heard them say spreadsheet earlier.
They weren't running though.
No, they said spreadsheet.
I appreciate that you and Mr. Gustafson are working in partnership and side by side and hand in hand. And I appreciate the partnership we have with Monument Academy to make sure that we are ensuring success across our entire community and working to hone in on this for next year. I just have a question that may be off topic. With our new auditor that's coming in, and will our new auditor be, how familiar is that process? We will have that presentation next month, right?
We're hoping to. I honestly, at this point, we're in their queue. The auditors, there's not enough auditors in the state for all the work that there is, and so I'm really hoping. I just got an update from them today. They have to finalize the MA audit before they finalize our audit, because they're a component unit of the district. So yes, I'm hoping that we'll be able to present it to you in December.
That was going to be my next question. How's the timing coming, and how is the comfort level in becoming familiar with us and Monument Academy?
Very good. They're a well-experienced group here locally, because they're based here in town, here in the area, I should say, down in Colorado Springs. Both myself and Glenn and MA have worked with them before in other entities. So they're very familiar with us and kind of what our work styles are, and so yeah, I think we've really ramped up really well with them, and it's going to be a good relationship.
Okay, thank you. Any other thoughts? Nope. Thank you, Mr. Ridgway.
Great
Anything
work.
else we
Thank
need to
you.
know?
Not for
Dare I
tonight.
ask? Okay.
Not for tonight.
Excellent. Great presentation. Thank you so much for diving in with that. Okay, our next item is C, for approval of consent agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second?
Any discussion?
Our last motion together, Ms. Phillips. Okay.
We're not done yet. Any discussion? No? Seeing none?
Ms. Clausen.
Aye.
Mr. Norris.
Aye.
Ms. Phillips.
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz.
Aye.
Ms. Upchurch.
Aye. And then one quick item, E1, future meetings for the three of us. So we're looking at, potentially, we're hoping for December 5th for, depending on when the Secretary of State completes the risk limiting audit of the November election, and that's when the El Paso County Clerk and Recorder provides the official abstract of votes, including the certificates of election for the newly elected school board directors. And then the district, after that, has 10 days to administer the oath of office to each newly elected board member, and then 15 days to hold the organizational meeting of us. And so we hope to accomplish both those tasks at the same meeting, perhaps as soon as December 5th is what we're aiming for. And then the next regular monthly meeting would be December 11th, prior to the holiday break. However, when the five of us convene, and then I would like to have as a future meeting the possibility of looking at, does the meeting times and dates work going into the 2024 year and beyond? So we'll work on that as well. And then Ms. Wetstein, you'd said that we will be looking at the survey results. Will that be
At an upcoming work session, but we have not finalized that quite yet. So it may be at that December 5th special meeting potentially, but we have not set a date yet.
okay? So it could be January. Okay. Is there anything else that Mr. Schwartz or Mr. Norris you'd like to see us visit during our upcoming meetings?
No, I think we spoke about it in the previous session, so I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Then with that, also reminder, CASB Winter Conference Convention at the Broadmoor is December 7th through the 9th. So, and I did put in an application. I want to let you guys know I did put an application to be on the board of directors for CASB for Region 6. So we'll see how that plans out. Just FYI. Anything else for the good of the order? No? Well, again, thank you so much and good luck to you both. This is not goodbye. You don't get away from us that fast, but we appreciate your service and your dedication to our students and our stakeholders. Thank you. Well, then with that, we are adjourned.